Welcome back to Law and Crime, everybody. It is a mystery that has haunted the music world for years. Who killed rapper Tupac Shakur? Now, Las Vegas police searched a home this week in Henderson, Nevada, just outside of Las Vegas, allegedly tied to Tupac's murder. Now, I want you to stick with me here because we're going to tie all of this together. So for years, it has been rumored that a man named Orlando Anderson shot Tupac after a fight inside the MGM Grand in 1996. The home that the police searched belongs to a woman named Paula Clemens, who's married to a man named Keefe D. Keefe D says he's Orlando Anderson's uncle and that he was part of the fight inside the casino that night in September of '96. Now, Anderson denied that he was the shooter, and he was actually killed in a separate shooting just a couple of years later. Tupac was inside of a black BMW with record producer Suge Knight driving. Police say a white Cadillac with 4 men inside pulled up right beside them at a red light and started shooting. Knight was grazed by either a bullet fragment or shrapnel from the car, but Tupac was shot 4 times and he died 6 days later at a hospital. But Tupac's legacy has lived on through the years. Albums released after his death were #1 on the charts, and he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2017. In fact, just last month, he got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So, Brian, for police to do this, to swarm the house, it makes me feel like they have something. They're not revealing everything, but they might feel that there's an arrest coming, no?
Yeah, so a search warrant needs 2 major things, especially for this conversation. Probable cause, that is an officer having some amount of knowledge or some kind of trustworthy source to make them believe that a crime, in this case, did occur. And they need to have particularities. What exactly are they going to find in this home? Documents, a gun, whatever it may be. So they know something, but they're just not releasing all of it to us.
Why right now? I mean, because that's the question. Why would somebody, or why would they get it now? It's like, we talk about the same thing with the Gilgo Beach serial killer. Like, it took so many years. Why now, you think?
Either someone said something that hadn't been said in the past, either eliciting something or going down a different road. I mean, we've always heard that Keefe D has always proclaimed he was inside the car, and the major question would be, why not go after him? So maybe something changed.
But they believe it. You know how many rumors there are about what happened to Tupac? Why they believe this?
Hey,
something.
Maybe someone said something, or the idea is if you squeeze someone hard enough, someone will talk. Because this is what, 1996, when Tupac died? They're no longer in the rap game, they're no longer in the crime game. They're probably 50 and over. Maybe they're tired of living by street rules, and now they're finally saying something. Like a detective said something the other day who had retired from the case.
Yeah. Do you think it also has to do with a change in, like, investigative teams? We saw the same thing again with Gilgo Beach. There was a whole lot of problems when those murders first happened. Now, fast forward, they put a task force together, and a few months later, they started collecting evidence on Rex Heuermann. Is that what you think might happen here?
Yeah, so Gilgo was a little unique in the sense that, and as you know, we're both New Yorkers, the Suffolk County DA's office had some people get cut, and then new people came in. This may be new investigators who are not closely tied to keeping their mouths shut. Maybe they're willing to talk more.
I'm fascinated by this. I want to see where it goes. Yeah. And I feel like it's, this is a development that we haven't seen in years. Well, coming up on Law and Crime Daily, police say they have the Gilgo Beach murder suspect in custody, and a former escort reveals a disturbing conversation they shared. Plus, another possible serial killer now making headlines on the West Coast. But first, an Alabama woman vanishes from the side of a highway after reporting a wandering toddler to 911. 2 days later, she returns home, and police are revealing new details about the case. It's next. And welcome back, everybody. So we're bringing you new updates right now in the Alabama missing persons case involving Carly Russell. She called 911 from her car to report a toddler on the side of a highway and then disappeared for 2 days before returning home on foot. Police responded to Interstate 459 in Hoover, Alabama on Thursday, finding Russell's wig, cell phone, and purse near her car, but there was no sign of the woman on the call or the stranded toddler she reported. Russell's sister-in-law said that the 25-year-old called her that same night. She overheard Russell asking someone if they were okay, followed by Russell screaming. On Saturday night, around 49 hours later, Russell was seen walking up a sidewalk to her home. Authorities said Russell was taken to a hospital for treatment and evaluation and was later released. In a news conference on Wednesday, Hoover police gave an update on what Russell told them because there's been a lot of speculation and attention on this case. They say that Russell left her place of work with a bathrobe and toilet paper that she had taken from the business and stopped for snacks. Then she allegedly encountered the toddler, and when she went to check on him, she was reportedly abducted. But more information from police may have led to even more questions about Russell and her story.
She stated when she got out of her vehicle to check on the child, a man came out of the trees and mumbled that he was checking on the baby. She claimed that the man then picked her up and she screamed. She stated he then made her go over a fence. She claims he then forced her into a car, and the next thing she remembers is being in the trailer of an 18-wheeler. She claims she was then blindfolded but was not tied up because the captor said they did not want to leave impressions on her wrists. She said that they took her into a house and made her get undressed. She believes they took pictures of her, but she does not remember them having any physical or sexual contact. At some point, she was put back in a vehicle she claims was able to escape while it was in the West Hoover area. She told detectives she ran through lots of woods until she came out near her residence. Detectives continue analyzing data from Carly's cell phone that was left behind at the scene. On July 11th at 7:30 a.m., the term, "Do you have to pay for an Amber Alert?" was searched. On July 13th at 1:03 a.m., the day of her disappearance, the term, "How to take money from a register without being caught," was searched. On July 13th at 12:10 p.m., a search for the movie Taken, a film about abduction, was conducted. There were 2 searches related to Amber Alerts on a computer at Carly's place of employment, including one regarding the maximum age of an Amber Alert. We've asked to interview Carly a second time, but have not been granted that request. What we can say is that we've been unable to verify most of Carly's initial statement made to investigators, and we have no reason to believe that there is a threat to the public safety related to this particular case.
It sure sounds like they don't believe her, do they?
It smells a little Smollett-ish to me for some reason. Google searches aside, and I don't know why people keep going to Google for these things, the inconsistencies that don't make sense from things that we hear about all the time. Someone abducted you but didn't want to bind you because they were worried about leaving marks. That's not something that people are typically worried about. But it does make sense if you want to say there's no marks on me, whether they be sexual or physical, so no one can really corroborate what you're saying or go against it. It's really just your word against theirs.
By the way, this is illegal. If she comes forward and faked this whole thing, what could she be facing?
It's a misdemeanor in Alabama. It is false reporting. Now, it could be a felony if it involved like false bomb report or hazardous waste, but it's not that. But I think it's less about the jail time here, more about when an Amber Alert or a child goes missing, you want law enforcement to act without any hesitation, completely go in. Now it's like the woman who cried wolf.
Well, allegedly, I mean, there's still unanswered questions about this. We're all trying to make sense of it. Could it be, I'm trying to understand what the motivation behind this could be. Is it possible it's a mental health episode of some kind?
So you're right, it's still alleged. Could be that she's completely telling the truth. I would love to see what the evaluation of her was after they found her, whether there be any physical abuse that she maybe didn't know about, and maybe something to corroborate her story.
Would there be a psychological evaluation?
I would assume there would be as well. Not just because you're seeing if the person was lying, but also the psychological ramifications of being kidnapped in the way that she described.
And maybe it matches up to what we've seen with other people who were actually kidnapped, or it doesn't. I don't know. This is weird. I'm not going to lie to you. This is a weird situation. You called it like a Jussie Smollett situation. All right, when we come back, a former escort comes forward 8 years later after the arrest of the Gilgo Beach murder suspect. What she told reporters about the chilling conversation she had while on a date with Rex Heuermann. And we're finishing today's show with a new development in the Gilgo Beach serial killer case out of New York. A former escort is speaking publicly this week about her date with suspect Rex Heuermann 8 years ago. 34-year-old Nicole Brass told the Daily News that she, quote, feared for her life after having dinner with the suspected serial killer in 2015. Brass said that she sought out wealthy men online in order to fuel her drug addiction. She connected with Heuermann through an escort website, and he suggested that they get a hotel room. But Brass wasn't very comfortable with that offer, so instead they met for dinner at the Steam Room Seafood restaurant in Port Jefferson. Brass claims that Heuermann seemed totally normal at the start until he asked her if she was a true crime fan. Brass said that they briefly talked about famous serial killers until he eventually brought up the Gilgo Beach murders. She had closely followed the case, but claims that Huerman described a victim that she didn't know about. In fact, Brass told reporters that Huerman, quote, seemed like he was talking about it from experience, not a point of view. She said that she never went to police because there was no concrete evidence to back up her gut feelings. At the time, Brass was also on parole for a drug conviction. Huerman is now in police custody on murder charges connected to 3 different women as investigators expand the search for evidence in both Las Vegas and South Carolina. Now, the serial killer saga really doesn't end there because police have just identified a person of interest in the murders of 4 women in the Portland, Oregon area. We're now learning that the suspected serial killer was actually granted an early prison release. 38-year-old Jesse Lee Calhoun was locked up in 2019 on several felony convictions, including burglary, injuring a police officer, and choking a police canine. Calhoun was released from prison in 2021, a year earlier than planned. He was one of roughly 1,000 other inmates granted clemency by Oregon's governor, all in an effort to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. After conducting multiple witness interviews this week, police said that they consider Calhoun a suspect in the deaths of 4 women. Investigators say the women, that ages 22 to 24, were killed in the Portland metro area within the past couple of months. Authorities believe that they have evidence against Calhoun in the 4 cases, but no charges have been filed so far. Meantime, Calhoun was actually sent back to prison earlier this month after Oregon's current governor revoked his early release, and he'll remain behind bars until June of 2024. Brian, let me focus on Rex Huerman for a second. Maybe just a creepy guy. I mean, she didn't feel the need to go to police. It's the same time, though, like if she said her life was in danger, shouldn't she have spoken up then?
Yeah, so there's that one little piece that you said near the end where she said she didn't say anything because there was no concrete evidence. So my question would be, well, what's the concrete evidence now?
Yeah.
We don't know.
She knows him. She knows he's the potential killer.
That's not concrete evidence in my mind. I mean, actually I do mean disrespect to men who purchase women for sex and favors. You're probably creepy and you probably have poor social skills. So if a sex worker says that this guy was really creepy and was talking about the Gilgo murders, I'd be like, well, that's probably a lot of your clientele. Like, I don't know if that's different than anyone else.
I don't know. Well, first of all, way to judge. But second of all, there's something about it where if she claims, this is all about if this is true or not, right?
Yeah.
If she says she felt her life was in danger and she had to leave and she didn't feel comfortable going to a room with him, I mean, A, she should have just reported that, you know, but again, she did have the past drug conviction, but A, you know, shouldn't she have just reported that she felt her life was in danger, he might be a danger? Maybe she didn't know he was the Gilgo Beach serial killer. But they could have looked at him then.
Yeah, I think this is an after the fact thing of
Yeah.
people seeing things. It's the same thing. Like you're the witness, you see something, and then someone gets arrested, and you're like, oh, when they ordered a coffee or when they did this, it was really suspect. No, you're putting pieces together after the fact. In my mind, especially as a defense attorney, if you didn't see it then, you're only trying to make it up now, or your brain is trying to make those connections for their.
So you don't think that she's going to be like a witness or something important in this investigation?
I think the relevance of her testimony would get knocked out as being more prejudicial than probative because she couldn't formulate that idea until additional facts got added in.
If this is true, it kind of matches up with what we're hearing, that there were press clippings and that he was researching the Gilgo Beach serial killer. Either he had a fascination of this or he might have been the one who did it. Brian, thank you. Great discussions today. Thanks for joining us here on Law&Crime Daily. We're going to see you next time as we discuss justice in America.